Welcome back, fourth graders. Last time, as scientists, we were paying attention to how we, as organisms, process and respond to sources of information given to us, right? What we do. We get sources of information all the time around us. Just look at your room. These are all pieces of information. Anything there? Now, chances are you are somewhere in your home right now, and you don't do a whole lot with the sources in your home because they're just natural. You don't think about them anymore. But if a new source of information were to come in, chances are you're going to do something with that. So everything kind of around our surroundings is a source of information. So instead of looking at us, though, we are going to look at how other organisms respond to information. So this is lesson 4 of organisms receive and process info. All right, here we go. So how organisms process and respond to their environment. Here we have this beautiful picture. And he's obviously responding to something in his environment. He's either, looks like to me, he's about to pounce on something. So maybe there's some sort of creature in those high grasses. So something gave him some information and he is responding with a particular action. Okay. We're going to start with looking at a photo. And we're going to look at this one and we're going to observe. And I want you to think out loud with me. Okay? Come along. All right. So, what are the sources of information this organism, this orca whale, is getting from its environment? So how is this information getting it information? What in the environment is giving it information? And like I said, it's kind of everything that's around. So start naming. What could be a source of information here? Trees, water, rocks, air. I love that. There looks like there's some land in the background. Great. So we've got water. It's giving it information, right? We've got those trees over there, and we have the air. I love all those. Those are different sources of information from this picture. Okay? And sunlight. Love that. Okay? All of this, he knows the sunlight, that determines that to this whale, it is daytime, correct? We use that as information all the time. Okay, so now, what sensory information is it receiving? So think. How are the 5 senses being used in this organism? So let's talk first sight. How is this organism using sight? Okay, it sees trees. What does that mean? Why does it need to see that? Know how close it is to land. Okay, it sees the water, how far it jumps out, right? It's going to want to know how long till it gets down. This is called breaching, by the way. This whale is breaching. Okay, so sight. Right? And sees the daylight. Fantastic. Taste. Any taste going on here? Probably not, but perhaps, ocean water is typically salty. I don't know how this animal tastes it, if it tastes salty to them as well, if their senses work that way, but perhaps. But chance that this is not feeding, so probably no taste senses really being used. Sound. Its ears. Listening. What might it be hearing? The water, right? The splash breaking the surface, right? Perhaps if it's windy, it might hear that. Perhaps there's other creatures nearby. Orca whales are known to hunt dolphins. So perhaps it's listening not above water, but below water. Smell. Perhaps there's smell involved. Trees, the salt, the weather, things like that. And touch. Yeah, it feels the surface of the water, breaking it, and it's going to feel it as it comes back down. Now, what I want you to notice is that all these sensory details are coming from the sources of information we already identified. It's either coming from the water, the air, or the trees that we talked about, right, or the sunlight. So all the senses is coming from information around it. So that's important to know. So we identified the sources of information, the trees, the air, things like that, all in the photo. And now we've discussed the sensory details that this organism could possibly be using, right? Okay, so I went ahead and put this into a tree map. So here's our sensory information, everything we just talked about, right? Sight, trees in the distance, top of water, sky. I should have added in that it was sun, daytime, right? The sun. Taste is possible. Salt water, sound, the water splashing, perhaps there's wind. The smell might be trees, fresh air. Touch, water on skin. Oh yeah, the water temperature, the air temperature, and the water splashing. So this is just sensory information. Yes, we're making inferences on what this creature is using, and that's okay. Okay, so here we go. Now, what are they doing with all this? They're taking all the sensory information and they're processing it in their brain, just like we do, right? So we have some sort of information, we have senses that take it all in, and we process that in our brain. Similar, right? So now, what response will this organism have with this information? Is it going to have a perception of the environment? Is it storing it for memory, or is it having some sort of action? So we are just kind of going to guess. It's just an inference, kind of a guess, an educated guess, because we are not that organism, and we're not going to see what happens after this photo because it's a photo. Okay, so perception of environment. It knows its surroundings, right? Perhaps it comes to this area all the time. It knows where it's at. Those trees don't mean it knows how close it is to the shore, but it just knows the environment around us. Memory, it's breaching. Perhaps it's just, I love breaching. It's like surfing. You continuing to do it. It's just that memory that you enjoy doing it, so you're going to continue doing it. And then the action is probably when it hits the surface, it's going to swim. Once it hits the water, perhaps breach again, perhaps find some food, something like that. So those are the possible responses from this particular organism given the photo. Okay, so we've gone through the sources of information it's receiving. We've gone through the sensory information. They send that all to the brain, and then it has a processor action, just like what we did in the last lesson with our information, our stickers and our cat, all those things. Take a look at these pictures. How do all organisms use sensory information to interact with the environment? Choose one that's your favorite. What about that little frog? Right? How is it using senses? Yeah, it's probably using that sense of touch to know it's on a safe surface, that it's on a lily pad and that it can hold its weight, right? Perhaps it's using its sense of hearing or sight too to make sure there's no predators nearby. That cute red panda, that's that first picture. It sort of looks like a raccoon, but it is called a red panda. And it's probably using its touch as well, because it looks like it's holding onto a branch. It's got to know how to use its weight, right? The weather it would have to pay attention to. So all this is information. All this. Right above me, you'll see it's a Svalbard reindeer that lives in the Arctic. And that obviously needs to know its environment pretty well to be looking for food too. So animals use sensory information to make responses as well. Okay. Whew. This scientific model is really big. Remember how we did that one with the garbage sticker? All those pieces are still here. We're not adding anything new, okay? So we have sources of information. Before we were just focusing on one source of information, the sticker, right? Or the cat or the tarantula. Well, this time we have different sources of information. We have the sky, we have the trees, we have the water, we have the wind, okay? Then we have the sensory information, and I put that with the information, the sources of information. So we have sensory, sight being the trees, the sky being the sight, the water, touch, sight, sound, taste, and the wind could be sound and touch, right? Don't get overwhelmed, it's okay. Then we have our source of light, which is sunlight, coming down, and it's shining on all these sources of information because it has to be able to be seen, right? Lit up. The reflection of light's coming from all of it. And then the orange that I just wrote there, I could have drawn a picture to a brain, which I probably should have, is just a response it could possibly have, right? So this is a beautiful model. It's all there. This is everything that happens. Now it's going to be your turn. Now, I'm going to walk you through this process. You will receive a Google Doc that's in 2 pages. Now, if we were in class, it would be paper and side by side and much easier to do. So I apologize for the digital format, and I will tell you when you get to your model, if you're a little frustrated with the digital tools, take a deep breath. You do not have to do it digital. You can hand draw and just insert a photograph. Okay, so right now, if it's too much, you can hand draw it. And you will have a photograph, just roughly draw the photograph. This is a tree. This is an animal. It does not have to be a perfect work of art. All right, so we're going to look at this first one. And if you notice, I put in highlight, start here. It's kind of weird because you're not starting at the top. You're going to start down here. Start here. And you're going to choose a photo from this file. You'll click on that picture. You'll click on that. It will take you to a file. And you get to choose any picture. And I'm going to go through the pictures right now because I think they're a lot of fun. Okay, so you're going to do that. So this picture is an Arctic fox. It was taken by a National Geographic photographer, Max Siegel, last June. I traveled with him to the Arctic. This picture, oh, I've seen that polar bear in real life, was by Max Gardner, a passenger on the ship. Beautiful male polar bear in the Arctic. Oh, that picture was taken by me, a walrus in Svalbard. Another one, this is actually a blue whale. So you have this picture you could choose. Oh, there's another Svalbard reindeer if you want to choose that one. This picture I also took of some orcas, but this was actually taken in New Zealand back in 2015. Oh, penguin. This is Antarctica, taken by one of my friends who traveled there just in January of this year. Another one she took, and if you look closely, there's 4 penguins in that picture. This picture was taken by Maya Santangelo. She is a undersea specialist for Lindblad Expeditions, and she took this picture in Alaska of a brown bear. She also took this photo in Svalbard of a polar bear, a manta ray. By her, a dolphin, also by Maya, a great white shark. She took this photo. Isn't that neat? A jellyfish, also taken by Maya, and she was swimming. She is a scuba diver. And a turtle, also taken by Maya. And finally, this eagle by my friend Paolo, who is also an undersea specialist for Lindblad Expeditions. So you get to choose whichever picture you want. You'll right-click on that photo to copy it, and then you're going to go back here. You're going to double-click to add the photo and create a model. So you're going to double-click, you'll paste it, okay? And choose whatever picture you want. That's the nice thing, is you get a little bit of choice here. And then you're going to save and close it. We're not going to create your model just yet. So you're going to save and close it, and then you're going to go back up to the top, okay? So once again, change your date. Scientists always date their work. Okay. And then you're going to start typing right there. What sources of information is this organism getting from the photograph? So once again, name the things you see in that photo. For this particular photo, sky, ocean, ice, there we have it. You're going to type that out. Okay? Sources of information. Got it? Then you are going to go here, and you're going to type about what sensory information. What things can this penguin be seeing? Tasting, hearing, smelling, and touching. So you'll go ahead and type that right in there. Okay? Easy peasy. We're good? Got that part? Fantastic. The hardest part was pasting the picture first. Then I did the processing for you. It's going to go to that organism's brain, right? And then it's going to go to how is this animal responding to its environment. Now, you can just do an inference here. We don't know because we don't have a video of how it's responding. But go ahead and write, what do you think the response is going to be? Is this penguin taking an action? Perhaps it's still going to walk away. Maybe that. Maybe it's just its environment, perception of environment. It's just hanging out. Or perhaps it has a memory or knows that food is nearby, things like that. Okay? It's okay to make an inference. Then you're right below that, you have a gotta have it checklist, and you're going to make sure that you've done all these things. Now, once again, you can right click like we did on the last one and add a little check mark as you go along. Now, the source of information was on that first page. Already did it. The ice, the sky. The sensory information was the tree map. You did it. Processing, I already did for you. It's the sent to the brain. And the responses, you already doing that. So the first 4, the top part, are already done. What we're going to focus on is that bottom part. We're going to go back to our picture. So we're going to draw and label on the photograph. Now, I told you if this gets a little bit too much for you, it's okay. You can hand draw this and sketch it. Not an art piece. I don't need an art piece. We're in science. just a general sketch. So you'll go back to your picture, and you're going to use the tools at the top to add the light source. So you can just write sun. We can't see the sun, but you can just say the sun's there, right? Okay, done. Check light source. Label it light source too. Path of light, draw it to the penguin or to the ice, to the water. Got it. Path of light. The reflection, right, to its eye. The sensory information, what's it getting? Just label it, the ice is the feel, okay, and the sight. And then possible actions you can just type in the corner, okay? If you need to hand draw this, just do a picture like a little mound. Just draw, you can just label penguin. You don't have to draw a penguin, you can draw a silly bird, I don't mind. Just get the basics down, okay? Once again. So those are all the pieces you're gonna need. Once again, here's a picture of my model. So if you need to pause and look and go down and do your picture, this is a great spot to pause and use my model as a picture for your model. All right, scientists, I can't wait to see your models. See you next time. Bye.